You're trying on a pair of jeans, a dress, or a jacket, and are about to dig your hand into the pocket when you realize there's no depth to it. The pocket is simply not there. But why would anyone create pockets you can't put anything in? And now would be a good time to pick your iPhone up from off the floor. Well, the reason for fake pockets is simple. If a clothing item has a specific cut or shape, pockets may spoil it. They can alter the item's shape, either in the warehouse or already on the retail rack. The solution? Getting rid of pockets in key areas. Plus, fake pockets are obviously cheaper, and they don't get stretched out. Interestingly, this practice goes back to the 17th century. That's when pockets were actually removable. They resembled small bags, and women, for example, could move them from one outfit to another. Unfortunately, it was also very convenient for pickpockets. They could grab such a pocket and run off with it. Then, clothes became more streamlined, and slim pockets started to be sewn right into them instead of attachable bags. This was believed to make the shape of a person's silhouette more alluring. But soon, slimmer skirts came into fashion and pockets went out of it, and people started using handbags instead. These days, most pockets are real, but some of them are still fake. So, how can we make sure that we don't actually turn a fake pocket into a hole thinking it's a real one? Well, first of all, take a look at the stitching along the edge of the pocket, where it's supposed to open up. If you see a single loose thread, just snip a piece of it and start pulling gently. If the pocket is real, the thread will easily come out. But if you feel that the stitching won't budge, most likely you have a faux pocket on your hands. If this is the case, just leave it be. Now let's move on to some other everyday objects that may be hiding some secrets. For example, those lines on some kinds of chips. For one thing, they help with the distribution of spices and seasonings. In other words, all those substances that make your chips taste like cheese are mostly stored inside the lines. Plus, the lines make chips crunchier. Highlighters are filled with a special semi-transparent fluorescent ink that can glow in dim light. Yellow and light green hues are the most popular because they don't prevent you from seeing the text after black and white photocopying. Photocopiers perceive yellow and light green marks as almost non-existent and don't print them. Now, back in the day, the first jeans had one problem. Workers and miners, who were the original jeans wearers, put too much pressure on the poor piece of clothing. As a result, the seams couldn't withstand the stress and tore. So, tiny metal studs were invented to prevent this from happening. Most metallic zippers have a hidden lock inside them. That's why you shouldn't leave the zipper handle in an upward position. When you pull it downwards, it automatically locks. It's all thanks to several tiny grooves hidden underneath the handle. Now, about those horizontal lines on plastic bottles. They help hold bottles up. Some bottles are produced from soft plastic. Without the lines, they wouldn't keep their shape. Instead, they would twist easily or even break. Bath foam isn't only for fun or a nice smell. It helps regulate the temperature too. The bubbles keep the water hot, and you can enjoy your bath a bit longer, with or without your rubber ducky. Ever notice that layer of clear liquid in gel pens? It's called the ink follower or stopper fluid. The gel in such pen contains pigment particles dissolved in a polymer solution. The gel should be thick enough to keep the pigment particles suspended, but also thin enough to flow first onto the ball and then the paper. The main task of the stopper fluid is to be a barrier to prevent the gel from evaporating or leaking out. Without this transparent fluid, your gel pen wouldn't function. The fluid always stays in one position and doesn't get dissolved with the gel. Neither does it move backward or flow out of the pen. The holes in the bottoms of your earphones allow air to circulate up and through the speakers. It allows to increase low frequencies, making the bass sound deeper. The quality of the sound also becomes much better. Some plastic milk containers have dents on their sides. Try as they might, they just cannot park without some damage. Nah, I made that up. These dents serve several purposes. For one thing, when milk spoils, this process usually causes swelling and high-pressure buildup inside the container. Oh boy, that's when the dent comes in handy. It pops out and doesn't let the jug blow up. Plus, if you ever decide to freeze the milk, it will expand like any other liquid. And then again, the indentation will pop out and prevent the container from breaking inside your freezer. That's a good thing. Airplane windows have rounded edges, and that's a crucial safety measure. It prevents aircraft accidents. Weak spots are usually situated in the corners. If airplane windows were square or rectangular, each of them would have 4 potential weak spots. Under pressure, they would collapse. If you look closely at a tram's overhead lines, you'll see that its contact wires zigzag back and forth instead of going in a straight line. The thing is that all trams have pantographs attached to their roofs. The upper part of the pantograph is gradually worn down by the overhead wire and eventually needs to be replaced. To wear it down evenly, the wire is not installed strictly along the tram's path, but in zigzag patterns. As the tram moves, the pantograph slides along the wire and it wears down evenly. You might have wondered why some gas cans have 2 holes with caps, one bigger and one smaller. Before, I thought that the little hole was used when you poured something into a smaller container. But I was wrong. A very infrequent occasion. In reality, you're supposed to uncap it before you pour the gas inside the bigger hole to prevent it from glugging and spilling on your clothes and on the ground. Most of the buttonholes on a shirt are vertical, but the top and sometimes bottom ones are horizontal. The reason is simple. These 2 buttons slip out more often than others. Luckily, producers have found the solution that can prevent these buttons from slipping out – horizontal buttonholes. What engineering! Buttons tend to slip out less from such buttonholes. Stick sachets of sugar or salt are easier to open than many people think. There's no need to tear off one of the ends. The right way is actually to tear them down the middle. Some boots have loops sticking out on the back. Their main purpose is to help you pull your shoes on easier. Just tug on the loop while you're pushing your heel into the boot. You can also use these loops to hang your boots on a hook when they're dirty or when you want to dry them after washing. Or you can run your laces through the loop if you want to tie them around your ankle. When you're on board the plane, you might spot a little triangle over your seat. Such triangles show the flight crew the best spots to check the plane's flaps through the window, just in case they're flapping. If your shoes are really slippery, just take a bit of sandpaper and rub it on the soles for better traction. They'll become more grippy and you'll be able to wear them out in the rain. Now, if they get too wet, they might turn gripey, but that's only if you have talking shoes. If you drill several holes at the bottom of your garbage can, putting in and taking out trash bags will become much easier. You won't have any problems with suction. You can usually find some silica gel in bags, shoes, and many other things you buy. This shell absorbs excess moisture. Don't throw it away. Each time your shoes get wet, put a few packets of silica gel inside. The thermos wasn't actually invented to keep your coffee warm. It was made by a Scottish scientist who just wanted a safe place to put his chemicals at a stable temperature. So he took 2 bottles, put the smaller one inside the bigger one, and vacuumed out the air between them. Well, anyway, thanks for the hot coffee.
Many shirts have 2 buttons on the cuffs, but only 1 buttonhole. So what is the second button for? Turns out you can use it whenever you're wearing a watch, so the cuff is looser. Most clothing items you buy come with a small bag of fabric or a button, or both. Buttons obviously can be used as a replacement if you lose the original ones. Pieces of fabric can be used to patch up a hole, but most importantly, it's a tester. You can use it to test different washing products on it and see what happens to the fabric. Some umbrellas have a tip at the top, and it turns out it's not just a pretty design. When going inside on a rainy day, you should just close your umbrella and tap the tip against the floor to drain the water faster and more effectively. Many backpacks have this diamond with 2 parallel cutout slits on its front, and it's there for your comfort. You can attach something to it, like a water bottle or shoes. It comes especially handy if you travel somewhere or go hiking, so you don't have to hold your stuff. Okay, the next thing is gear loops. And probably from the name of it, you already have an idea what they're there for. You can strap in some useful gear you need to have with you, like trekking poles or shovels. Some gear will need to be secured to do it. Drop the handle through the loop and rotate it upward. Then, secure it with the elastic hook at the top, and you're golden. On the back of many makeup and hygiene products, you can find this symbol with a marking like 6M, 12M, and 24M. This is the number of months this product can serve after you open it and before you should throw it out. The two sides of a cotton pad are different because each of them has a particular purpose. A cotton pad has several layers to ensure that it's soft, strong, and can absorb liquids. The edge is stitched to hold it all together. The smooth side of a pad is for applying products like tonics and lotions, and the embossed side is best for cleansing and makeup removal. Also, any pack of cotton pads has those strings on the sides. They're there so you can hang the package somewhere. Then, you can open the package at the bottom where the perforated line is and take them out. Did you know that there is an efficient way to pull a thread from yarn? When you pull from the outside, the yarn rolls away, so you need to hold it. However, if you pull it from the center, it will stay together. We're all familiar with staplers, but I bet you don't know all its secrets. Most staplers have a compartment to store spare staples, which can be located either on top or at the bottom. Also, surprise! This metal plate you press staples against can be turned around. This way, the device will be able to staple your documents by turning the metal ends outwards. No need to wonder whether you need to get a smaller or bigger container. Turns out, plastic food containers have volume measurements on their bottoms, indicating how much food they can fit. Ceiling fans come with a small switch on the inside of the blade. You might not have noticed it because it's not in plain sight, so check yours out. This switch allows you to change the direction of rotation. Now, why would you want to do that? The blades of a fan push the air in different directions, depending on the way they rotate. In the summer, you need the air to be pushed down to create the effect of a breeze. In the winter, the direction should be changed so that the air is pushed towards the ceiling. It then heats up before going down the walls. Have you noticed that the gas tank sign on cars' dashboards has a little arrow next to it? Well, this arrow has a purpose. It points at the side of the car where the gas tank is located. It's very useful for forgetful people who constantly wonder where their gas tank is, and also for those who drive rentals once in a while. The answer is right in front of your eyes. If you can't find the arrow on your panel, then the fuel hose on the icon indicates the side instead. All car tires have 12-digit numbers printed on them, and they're actually important codes for car owners if they want to get the right tire. The first letter identifies the type of tire. P stands for a tire for light passenger cars, and LT is for heavy vehicles. Then, the following numbers stand for the width of the tire, its radial, and its diameter. Measuring tapes have that metal stud on the end, which you can use to attach the tape to the surface you measure. This way, you don't need to hold it yourself. But there's also a small slot, which can be used to hang the tape on a nail, again to free your hands and keep measuring. The bottom of the end of the tape has a ridged edge. It will help you make a mark if you don't have a marking tool with you. On the tape, there are black diamonds that are placed every 19.2 inches. They're useful for construction workers when spacing engineering joists. They can also be useful for you if you want to hang something heavy, for example. The diamond will mark the exact center of a wooden joist. Those are placed 16 inches apart from one another. There, you can drill something to that center to make sure whatever you hang is safely attached to the joist instead of the unreliable thin wall. Pictures will survive, but it's particularly important if you're hanging something heavy. Did you know that batteries have an expiration date? Yes, it's printed right on their label, but I've never noticed it before. The expiration date doesn't mean you can't use it after that. It's more like a recommended usage period, after which, the manufacturer can't guarantee full battery life due to deteriorated components. These little feet keyboards have are actually a standard. The height of a keyboard should be adjustable, allowing the angle between 0 degrees and 15 degrees. The reason to fold the feet out is for you to see the keys better, in case you don't type blindly. A little problem that comes with it is that, in this case, your wrists are bent, and it's not good to keep them in this position for a long time. Pans have those holes on the ends of their handles. They're not just there for you to hang them. You can also place your cooking spoon in there. It'll hang right above the pan, and the sauce will not spill around. Make sure to tap off the sauce or food beforehand, though, so that it doesn't go down the spoon's handle. Stickers with numbers you can find on fruits can tell you some information on how the food was grown. A 4-digit code that starts with a 4 means that the fruit was grown conventionally, meaning it contains chemicals and pesticides. So your best choice should be a fruit with a 5-digit number. And if you see the number 9, it indicates that the fruit is certified organic. On the bottom of plastic bottles, you can often notice a mark of a triangle with a number engraved in the middle. This number specifies the type of plastic that was used to produce the bottle. These codes help people and local recycling centers to sort returns. Products that were made of plastic of types 1 and 2 are the easiest ones to recycle. Plastics of types 3 through 7 are tougher to recycle. The Queen's Guard all appear to have the same uniform, with a shared role of standing stoically for a long time. But if you look closely at their hats, there are 5 different types. The Grenadier has a white plume, the Coldstream has a red one, the Irish a blue plume, the Welsh green and white, and the Scots Guard has none. Their different divisions perform similar ceremonial duties at Buckingham Palace. But they have other actual roles as well, suited to their specialization. When peeling your boiled eggs, you can see a hidden layer under the shell. These 2 membranes, an inner and outer one, are made from the same stuff as your hair, keratin. It protects the inside from bacteria and stops liquids from escaping. You use X in your text, which represents a kiss. It's been used this way for a very long time. Its original purpose dates back to the Middle Ages, where it was a representation of a person's faith, honesty, and sincerity. Those that would sign off with an X would kiss it after signing as a display of a sworn oath. The X's meaning later changed to represent the action of kissing. And the first document showing this was a letter dating back to 1763, written by a naturalist, Gilbert White, who sent it to his wife. William Shakespeare is a name familiar to everyone. However, we don't know whether this was the actual way his name was spelled, and neither did he. He signed 80 different variations of his name spelling on all his works. Historians haven't a clue which the correct spelling is. The version that we know of was only used on 2 of his plays. Different forms of alarm clocks were invented as far back as 348 BCE, with many versions throughout the world, all with complicated mechanics. Unaffordable to mostly everyone, they didn't catch on. Alternate methods to wake up in the morning started to be used in the 1800s. One process involving knocker-uppers was common in some countries. A person visited your house every morning to knock on your door 4 times. Inventor Antoine Redier felt that he should be woken only when he felt it necessary. So, in 1847, he invented the first adjustable alarm clock. Tennis balls in Wimbledon must be kept at a perfect temperature to ensure they bounce at a consistent level. They're stored at 68 degrees Fahrenheit, so they're cold enough that the molecules inside the ball shrink, ensuring they bounce lower. Then, they're continuously swapped throughout a match as they expand by being hit too much, becoming too bouncy. Wimbledon goes through 50,000 tennis balls each year. You enjoy the smell of a freshly mowed lawn, as you associate it with the weekends and summer. But that smell is a sign of stress made by the grass. Grass evolved to emit various elements when being eaten by bugs. This signal attracts predator insects to remove them. But unfortunately for the grass, there's nothing large enough to deter a lawnmower. There is no oxygen inside your packet of chips. If there was, it would influence the combination of molecules forming inside, spoiling the chips faster. The packets are instead filled with nitrogen, which pushes oxygen out. And this extends the shelf life and quality of your chips. You're traveling by plane overnight and just can't get to sleep. And the first night in a hotel wasn't great, regardless of how comfy the bed was. This is because of a human evolutionary trait called the first night effect. When you sleep in a different place than your home, the left side of the brain responds to more sounds while you're asleep. It continues to analyze your surroundings without you realizing, acting as though it's on a night watch and keeping you alert for any potential dangers. Most animals have this trait, although it's a lot more subtle in humans. But it's still effective enough to make sure you get your peanuts. Before playing basketball with hoops, you would have instead been playing with peach baskets. When the game was invented in 1891, a peach basket was used, with the bottom of it cut off. But it only took 15 years for players to grow tired of constantly collecting the jammed balls and to remove the basket altogether. When you click your fingers, the snapping sound isn't from the physical click of finger and thumb. The noise actually comes from the finger hitting the palm. The instant film for the first Polaroid cameras didn't have their own coating after taking a photo. To develop it, you applied it yourself. Waiting for it to dry took a long time, so shaking it sped up the process. Then, from the 1970s, the film provided everything required for the photo to develop, making the popular craze of shaking Polaroids pointless. Shaking the photo can cause the ink to wave or blur before drying properly, so you shouldn't actually shake it like a Polaroid picture, and just wait patiently instead. Bug spray doesn't repel all bugs, especially the worst of them all, mosquitoes. It does cover the scent of carbon dioxide, which is what attracts mosquitoes, but the spray only protects you for a short distance. Mosquitoes can also track carbon dioxide over long distances. They will continue to stalk you until they find a gap in your invisible bug shield. A great alternative is lavender, which contains linalool. This fragrance completely overloads the mosquito's senses, making it unable to track you. The half belt on the back of some jackets appear like a fashion accessory. It was initially designed that way for larger jackets, as they could also be used as a blanket to wrap around oneself. The belt's position helps hold the material together, so it's easier to walk with whilst keeping you warm. Ketchup wasn't originally intended to be your favorite condiment. In 1834, a physician, John Cook, sold ketchup as a cure for indigestion. It was an immediate hit, and today, 10 billion ounces are purchased annually in the USA, although not as the intended medicine. Thomas Edison made over 1,000 inventions, and one in particular, the light bulb, is most famously linked to him. However, he didn't actually invent it. Warren de la Rue, a British chemist, had solved this scientific challenge 40 years earlier. There were also 20 other inventors who made alternate versions before Edison did. But earlier varieties relied on cotton thread and only lasted up to 14 hours. Edison, in 1880, used a carbonized bamboo thread instead, and his worked up to 1,200 hours. It became the most commercially viable light bulb, and today's ones are similarly shaped to Edison's original. The first treadmill was used in England in 1818. It was a large wooden cylinder with a handrail, although it wasn't used to keep fit. Convicted criminals would be forced to use these for up to 10 hours per day as a punishment. The energy output potential was realized, and soon it was built to work with water pumps and grain grinders. It was so effective that it was used in all prisons throughout the country. But in 1902, it was decided that it was too harsh and stopped. And now, this cruel punishment is mainly found in gyms. During the 1940s, there was a shortage of cocoa, and it was important to find a solution to this problem. A production company found a way by mixing only a small amount of cocoa with hazelnuts and milk, and the original Nutella was created. It started out as a loaf spread, like a stick of butter. It then transformed into a creamier version inside a jar in 1951, but it wasn't until 1964 that it was given its famous name. Your passport might be a dark shade of either green, blue, or red. The darker color not only makes them appear more official, but is intended so that through its journeys, the dirt that's collected is more easily hidden. Wasabi was first used back in the 8th century. It wasn't meant as a spicy condiment as it's served with sushi today. Initially, it was used for its antimicrobial properties that help avoid the harmful reactions to fish with sushi that's a bit too old. If you look at it on the street, you'll think a fire hydrant is about 3 feet in height. But the actual size of the device used to provide water supply to firefighters all over the world is twice as large. That is, if you count the rest of the hydrant, which is hiding underground. They're mostly red, and it's not just a matter of urban design. First of all, they need to be of bright, easily noticeable colors so firefighters can spot them fast when they need to. The choice of color depends on how much water the hydrant can hold. It can sometimes vary depending on the location, but here's the breakdown. A red fire hydrant can splash 500 gallons of water per minute, while an orange one at least 1,000 gallons. Green ones mostly process 1,500 gallons of water per minute, and the most plentiful ones colored blue can generally contain over 1,500 gallons. Hey bowling fans, isn't it super annoying when your bowling ball gets cracked? Turns out that most of them get damaged because of incorrect storage or spikes in temperature. Now come on and face it, since it's already cracked a bit, aren't you curious what's actually inside the bowling ball? 'Cause I sure am. Let's have a look. They mostly make the inner core of the ball of powdered metal oxides, like calcium or iron oxide. They mix them with some resin and catalyst to harden the whole mixture. So that light bulb shape you now see inside of the ball is actually its heaviest part. It also influences how your bowling ball rotates when going down the lane. The same goes with spray paint cans. When you shake it, it makes a weird noise. But what is that thing in there? It's called a pea, and it's meant to hold the paint mixture in place and maintain its shape. They generally make it out of plastic, metal, or ceramic. It basically acts as a whisk to make sure your paint is well mixed together before you apply it to your surface of choice. Ever wondered how soda bottles keep that refreshing fizz for that long? Well, they have a little plastic ring fastened to the lid. They place it there to keep the gas from escaping and making the soda go flat, even if you shake it around in your bag the whole day. Speaking of things we use on a hot summer's day, wait, don't put your baseball cap on just yet. Take a look at it for a minute, and you'll notice there's a small button on the very top. Is it functional, or is it just there for the sake of design? Way back when people started using fabrics to cover their heads, some say the button was actually functional. Since it's on top of the cap where the fabric panels come together, the top button helps keep the cap crown in one single piece. Now, with recent advances in fabric and pattern design, the button is more of an aesthetic feature. It's used to cover up the joint point of the fabric panels. Your cap might not have a button at all, but don't you think a cap actually looks better with one? Cotton pads have two sides, and if you take the time to look at them carefully, they're actually different in texture. Just in case you've ever wondered why, the textured side is for applying makeup, and the even side is for removing it. Bookworms, this one is for you. Dust jackets that come with a lot of hardcover books are not just meant to make your book look pretty, they also double as a bookmark. Just fold the pages you've already read underneath the inside of the jacket, and voila! Next time you reach out for your favorite shirt, take a look at the top buttonhole. It should be stitched horizontally, and all the other ones are vertical. Turns out that the dress shirt was designed this way since the first and the last buttons were the first ones to unbutton throughout the day. They then changed the direction of the buttonhole to ensure the shirt would stay nice and fitted before you're ready to take it off. These days we have so many variations of this awesome dessert that it's hard to imagine we've ever lived without it. You can find different types of cookie dough ice cream or even chocolate chip cookie cake basically everywhere. but the famous cookie wasn't actually invented until 1930. The story goes that a woman named Ruth Graves Wakefield was preparing some chocolate cookies as she was waiting for some guests to arrive. She soon figured out she was out of baker's chocolate, a crucial ingredient for the classic cookies. To fix things up, she chopped up a block of semi-sweet chocolate, thinking it would eventually spread out evenly throughout the batter, given the heat of the oven. Things didn't necessarily go as planned. But hey, it's great they didn't, because this is how she invented this modern dessert we now can't get enough of. And speaking of popular snacks, the potato chip is even younger than the chocolate chip cookie. Well, at least historically. There are many stories trying to explain how it was invented. One of them goes like this. A chef named George Crumb, based in New York, put the chips together in 1953. He decided to try a different cooking solution when one of his customers didn't have nice things to say about his French fries. He said they were too thick and kind of mushy. Then, Crumb came up with potatoes that were thinly sliced and fried until brown. People absolutely loved the dish, and they welcomed the first ever batch of chips with open arms. Ice cream, anyone? If the story is true, back in 1904 at the St. Louis World's Fair, one ice cream shop owner ran out of cups to serve his dish. So, he fashioned a waffle into the shape of a cone, and the rest was history. Okay, I'll admit it, chewing gum-like treats have been around since the ancient Greeks. So this one isn't particularly a revolutionary discovery, but the actual gum we buy today wasn't there until the late 1800s. An American inventor named Thomas Adams wanted to mix together different chemicals to create rubber. He tried and failed, for that matter, to play with chicle for his experiment, but ended up fashioning this neat treat. They still use chicle to this day to produce most chewing gums. Back in the 1800s, there lived a man named Jean-Baptiste Joly, who worked in the fabric industry as a textile maker. How he came up with this next invention that we use a lot these days has less to do with him and more to do with his maid. The story goes that the woman accidentally knocked a kerosene lamp over onto a tablecloth. Instead of getting upset over the damaged fabric, Joly noticed that the substance actually made the material cleaner. Figured it out yet? Yep, that's how the idea for the very first dry cleaner popped up. A very neat accident, if I do say so myself. Now this one I loved. Did you know matchsticks were initially called friction lights? Or at least that's how their inventor, a chemist named John Walker, called them back in 1826. He scraped a stick coated in chemicals across his hearth, totally by accident one day, and realized that they ignited and created a spark. Initially made out of cardboard, they were then made using wooden splints and sandpaper. Back in the 1940s, a man named Harry Coover stumbled upon a chemical formulation that seemed to stick to everything it touched. The scientific community at the time didn't look much into it, as the formula didn't seem to have many applications back then. It wasn't until 1951 that he looked a bit more into the formula and decided to repurpose it, along with a fellow Eastman Kodak researcher named Fred Joyner. They gave it a proper full name. But you must know it by the shorter version: super glue. It also has many uses in security these days that it's hard to believe that we didn't come up with this one on purpose. Back in 1903, a scientist named Edward Benedictus knocked over a flask by accident. He looked down and was amazed to see that the glassware had just slightly cracked but maintained its shape. He was expecting it to break into a million tiny pieces. Curious about this hidden feature, he looked into it and figured out what was keeping the glass together was a substance coating the inside of the glass. Ta-da! That's how humanity came up with safety glass.